All wings report in. This is Andy Podrex standing by.
Oh, it's my turn now. That's right. It's Lexi Podme standing by.
Tracy is frozen. Go, Jason.
Okay. Jason, Children of a Lesser Pod, standing by.
And of course, Tracy, our fourth member of our squad. All ships to attack formation. Mission objectives to talk about the Star Wars in movies, streamings, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from a galaxy far, far away. Today's flight plan includes the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 3, The Streets of Tatooine, and a review of Monster of Temple Peak by Kevin Scott and Rachel Stott. And for all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader for today. I'm Andy Lowe, aka the Chinese Pirate, director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. And on my wing is Tracy, who, can she talk yet?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yay! I'm Tracy, also known as Hot Nerd Girl. Hi, everybody.
And on my other wing is Lexi.
Hey guys, it's Lexi. You guys can find me at Feral Geek Aesthetic. I do nerdish things outdoors in the wild.
And holding our rear flank is Jason.
Jason, filmmaker, nerd, toy collector, and yes, I hear music. It sounds like we're in Free Guy, so I don't know what.
I'm I'm like 90% sure it's not me because I don't recognize it.
Teenage Wasteland. Oh, it's Teenage Wasteland. You don't.
Oh no, because I can't hear it properly, so I don't think
Teenage
it's me.
Wasteland!
I don't know.
It's definitely not me because I would
Teenage
recognize it
Wasteland.
if my computer was playing Teenage Wasteland.
Yeah, no, that is Baba O'Reilly from the seminal Who album Quadro-Fett-nia, which I just have been as at the top of my mind all this week, with this great little throwback from Boba Fett this last week. How you guys doing?
Okay.
I got stuck on a mountain last week.
Oh, Lexi wins.
As you do.
You know,
I mean, we got stuck right across the street from a cabin, and we ended up renting a cabin for the night. That was really fun. That was an impromptu adventure. Yeah. And this is my hair wash day and my laundry day, guys. It was real rough. First world problems.
okay then.
Well, we have some news.
You have news. Oh yes,
We
news. Let's
don't
get to that
we
news.
and a little bit of announcement.
Mm.
Yes, we should talk about that real quick.
Well.
Should I say it?
Yeah. Let it rip.
Oh,
And she
false advertised.
Oh,
no.
okay. Well,
One more time.
what she is referring. Oh, wait, are you back?
Apparently my internet connection is unstable, but I don't know why.
A little rain in San Diego, and everything goes to crap.
Everything falls apart.
For as long as we can hear you, Tracy, what's the news?
All right. Okay. Well. Okay. So, starting next week, we are going to be at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, so 9:30 p.m. for all of the East Coasters instead of 8 p.m. here and 11 p.m. on the East Coast. So we're going to be before Geek Beast, and we'll be doing the crosstalk the other way into Geek Beast.
And if you're
So-
mountain time like me, 6:30 p.m. Pacific is 7:30 p.m. mountain time. So
that's right, fans. We have heard you. Many of you have kind of called out, like, wishing that we were just a little bit earlier. So we've bumped that up, so we can be with all of you, and you can be with us. So we'll start that again next Monday, where we are at 6:30 right here on YouTube and on Facebook with the Geekish Network. But yeah, so huzzah for all on that. Shall we get into this week?
Oh yes, I just want to wish everybody a happy Martin Luther King Day, though, and to take, days like this are a good reminder to practice kindness, to practice empathy, to do good things for others, to, check your own maybe internal, biases and what you can do to improve on that. And I heard a quote by Emmanuel Asho today that was, everybody has, I'm paraphrasing here, but, everybody is guilty of ignorance. We all have some kind of ignorance, whether it's sexism or racism or colorism or ageism or whatever. But oh gosh, what was it? But, like where you go wrong is by not trying to be ignorant and, not trying to move. Oh, what was it? Oh, I'm screwing it up. What's the word for being like crappy, but it starts with a P?
I can think of a lot.
Anyway, so that's like being willfully ignorant. Anyway.
Also, MLK Day is a good day to do your research, because what you learn in, school is not always the full story. It often gets dressed down.
Especially these days. It is prejudice is willful commitment to ignorance. Prejudice is a willful commitment to ignorance. So, try to do better, try to be better. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. That's what I'm saying.
I actually, taking it a step further, it's like I actually, have for a long time kind of take it to heart that, honestly, I will never claim I am not racist. I will never claim I am not sexist. I will never claim I am not transphobic or anything else, because I don't know, right? A lot of times we don't know. We come from a culture that has a lot of coding in it. And, I think the most important thing that anyone can do is to go into the world expecting not to know and being willing to listen to someone who does.
Yes.
And that's I think the key thing there, right? It's like, I'm not going to go in and say, well, I'm not racist.
No.
That's probably the most racist thing I could possibly say.
And I think being able to do that requires a skill set that our society doesn't really encourage people to develop, which is, to be able to separate your actions from your identity, like the ego from the id. And surprisingly enough, for like as philosophical of a society as they are, the Jedi seem to kind of have the same problem, I noticed. So.
Well, and maybe not as, I don't like it when people say that they're colorblind. I think that you should see the color and celebrate it and embrace it, right? As the uniqueness, the unique beautifulness that it is.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that affirmation and that acknowledgement of the day that we are in. So, but with that, we are going to get into that's enough for our opening banter, or rather, the opening banta of it all.
Yeah.
Let's let's get into Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Eisley. Having
Dun, dun, dun.
returned to his palace to regroup, the new daimyo of Tatooine, Boba Fett surveys the climate of Mos Espa since Bib Fortuna succeeded Jabba the Hutt. With the Hutt's saber rattling and the mayor of Mos Espa being subordinate, he must choose his next action carefully in order to pull favor and respect back to him. Involving himself in local disputes, he becomes more aware of the plight of the common people of Tatooine. His memories bring him back to confronting the Pikes on behalf of the Tusken tribe, only to return to find the entire tribe slaughtered by Nikto's swoopbike gang. Rudely awakened from his slumber, Boba Fett survives an attempt on his life staged by the Hutts, only to discover an even bigger surprise. The Hutts are retreating from Tatooine, and they heed him this warning. War is coming. What'd you guys think of this episode?
My favorite part was Danny Trejo and the Rancor. And I want to know what he names it. And I love that he is so sweet to animals.
That's right. I caught that only on my last rewatch where he's just like scratching his chin and he's like, "What should we name you? What should we name you?"
I think you like this. You like this. You're hungry. Give him a whole carcass. And then the droid comes in and is like, "Sir, I'm busy." It was so good. That was my favorite part. And I have to say at the beginning, I was like, are they going to make this some kind of like pull the rug out from under his feet, like fate gift, it's trained to maul him kind of thing? Because it's Danny Trejo, you never know. It could either be like real serious or it could be comedic. And I really love that Danny Trejo just so far seems to be like, he just wanted his Rancor to go, like his prize Rancor from this litter, to go to a good trainer. And he's like, yeah, he's got a master who will respect him.
But so why didn't the Rancor bond with Machete? And why did he specifically say that it bonds with humans? The first human. He didn't say like humanoid or being. Well, he specifically said human.
I mean, he's a trainer, right? So he didn't bond with it. He did not let it see him, so it would fix it.
Yeah, my guess would be, and I mean, considering that they don't exactly have like I really doubt that they have like a galactic humane society. And so keeping a Rancor's eyes covered from birth is probably not illegal, even though it's probably pretty shitty to do.
Now that's of course we have I mean we never saw Moochie with eye patches either too, so. But
Moochie was also a pain in the ass who didn't really respond to anybody, so kind of case in point, right?
But fair enough.
I would think that Moochie would have.
So she was...
Well, maybe Moochie. I thought Moochie may have bonded with Omega.
Possibly, or maybe the bonding process happens later in life because obviously Moochie was much smaller.
Yeah, that was like a baby rancor. Maybe baby rancors are like baby dragons and How to Tame Your Dragon, where they're like, they don't listen to anyone. I don't know.
It sounded well. The way that Danny Trejo was talking was almost like they kind of take on the attributes of the person that they're bonded with, right? Almost
Mhm.
like uh
He was kind of describing it like a pit bull.
yeah,
It's not the dog, it's
Totally.
the owner. They're really good fighters, but that's just because that's what people use them for. They're really loving. Like
yeah. Oh, exactly.
anyway, that was my favorite part, guys. Not gonna lie.
But didn't Danny Trejo say something about how this was cloned in a batch as well, and how he kind of put this one aside, and it kind of was
he
like
did say he
kind of
picked that
similar
one.
to Boba Fett, right? Like he was part of like a clone, and he was.
I'll have to
like
rewatch
the
it
one unique
'cause
one.
I don't remember the clone statement, but I do remember him saying like, "Oh, this one's special. I wanted to train it myself."
I mean, there is definitely some like alignment there in terms of Boba Fett feeling like he was bred to fight, and of course
Yeah.
now he's in a new place in his life, in his post Enlightenment after his time with the Tusken tribe, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
you can definitely kind of see where he's identifying with this.
And especially where a lot of his life has been out of his control, people just taking him places and being like, "Here, do this, fight."
Now also, of course, there's the call out where he says, of course, he wants to ride it, right? Because he says he's ridden beast 10 times its size.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, what's that you got behind you?
Holiday special.
Yeah.
And we've seen Boba Fett riding this weird phallic looking guy.
All right, now go
Yeah.
ahead. So tell it out. Run it down for our listeners who may not know what you have behind you here.
From the infamous Star Wars holiday special, they had this animated, heavy metal type sequence, which was the first appearance of Boba Fett. And the first time you see him, he's riding this guy. And so, yeah, so I'm hoping that maybe we get to see him on this thing later on.
Really cool.
I mean, that would be.
Did you notice that Danny Trejo was carrying the big tuning fork just like Boba Fett was in the holiday special?
Yeah. So, canon, everyone, we're gonna see this guy. He's gonna be licking car doors and all kinds of shit. So it's gonna be awesome.
It's a Bobasaurus.
It's a Boba.
There were a bunch of kind of little call outs in that, right? I mean, there was also he also makes a call out to how the witches of Dathomir used to ride them through the forest. Of course, calling out the Night Sisters, who we have met in the Clone Wars. Potentially, also there is a live action former Night Sister, but still unconfirmed. But
that would make me so happy.
Well, it's the little tease of a tattoo peeking out from under the hairline of Diana Innocento when she showed up as Morgan Elsbeth last year, right? Is that there are some that are wondering if she is
would make me really happy
the
if
last survivor of the Night Sisters.
Her dueling skills would vouch for that. That that arc broke my heart.
Yeah.
Oh my god, but we didn't see the kid and we didn't see the female warrior, but seeing the chieftain there was really upsetting.
Okay, wait, we're jumping around. So we're talking about
I was just talking about the Clone Wars arc with the
sorry.
Night Sisters, but yeah. But good unintentional seg.
I was responding to a chat thing.
But I mean, responding to the thing that you were responding to in chat, it was really interesting because it kind of reminded me of with the situation with the Tusken Raiders that Boba Fett comes back. She really reminded me of the way that Filoni and Favreau have had a really brilliant habit starting in Mandalorian, I think mostly, of turning these starting in Clone Wars, I guess, where they take these characters that you have not had a chance to empathize with, like a whole sect of characters like the clones, or where you get to flesh them out, see them as people, and you have that opportunity with the Mandalorian, where it goes more in depth into the Mandalorians and other races, and then you now have that with the with the Tuskens,
and Boba.
And now
Rancors.
For those of us who don't have chat or are on a different chat, what are you guys referring to?
Oh. So Tracy had started off. Where did you start off, Tracy, or did she freeze again?
Oh no, I'm here.
You're there.
I'm here.
I just was pausing and waiting for you to talk. Who knows? It's either your internet or mine. I can never tell.
I'm just really expressive and I froze.
So I was continuing about the Night Sisters of Dathomir, and Tracy had thought that I was referring to one of the happenings in the episode, one of the incidents in the episode with the Tusken Raiders. And I thought that it was really interesting as an opportunity to empathize with the Tusken Raiders, where Filoni and Favreau kind of had a really lovely habit of showing us the more intricate sides of these groups, social groups or races in Star Wars that normally would be seen as villains.
So we're talking about the flashback scene when Boba Fett goes to speak on behalf of the Tusken villagers and comes back and finds them all slaughtered by the Kintan Striders.
That's what you were talking about, Tracy, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Lexi was not referring to that, but I responded to a chat question and thought she was referring to that, and so it kind of jumped.
I picked up with it, and
then she picked up.
And then ABC. Hooray!
But we can get back on track now. That was me trying to engage in the chat.
That was just pinball game via chat verbally. That was something.
But Paul's saying they humanize the freaking Tusken Raiders, and that's right. No small feat, because they're the first thing that we ever hear about them is that they're just kind of like mindless desert creatures that only kill people, right? That's Obi-Wan's impression of them. So I think the fact that they're humanizing them, and in a way that harkens back to people who have been persecuted in our world, I think is really clever and meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, just to the point where, like last episode was such a great episode in terms of, the Boba Fett kind of bonding with this tribe. And yeah, they just kind of come back to them all just slaughtered. That was pretty shocking, actually. We do see the chief dead. We don't see the child dead, but we see him burning the little trainer gaffy stick, right?
Yeah,
but the kid was carrying a different one.
Did we see his sensei?
The
or his sensei's weapon? We did not.
I don't.
And I was keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, and my fingers are crossed that we have.
My fingers are crossed that she got away.
Yeah.
I
was really looking.
I saw that coming. I really hate to say I saw that coming. Yeah,
it's the Dances with Wolves syndrome.
Yeah, they were humanizing the Tuskens so hard. I was like, well, I mean, there's no way that they're going to go through all this trouble. I mean, besides the fact to build in his backstory to do this, unless something's going to happen, and like he's going out and they're talking about like the rival speeder bike gang,
right?
That he's already stolen from. So of course, like I feel like now he's probably going to have some element of blaming himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting because I noticed, I can't remember if it was in episode 2 or episode 3, but I remember that when he's first learning about their tribes, he says, well, there's a bunch of different tribes. Some of them are really warlike and some of them are just like hunter-gatherers.
Right.
And so it also kind of speaks to maybe Obi-Wan ran into one of the really militant tribes and then generalized, which again speaks to what Tracy's point about the generalization of a whole group of people, of a culture, even though there are very small different groups within it, different subcultures.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's also interesting, right? So he actually goes, he's on back to represent the tribe the Pikes to ask for tribute, right? I mean, this is where this begins is that after the train heist from last week, he's come to collect, tribute from the Pikes to bring back to the tribe. And of course they're like, well, we've already paid tribute to these other guys. We're not going to pay tribute to like
Twice.
more
Oh my
than
gosh, that manipulation was just so, you could see right through that. He's like, you can take care of this other dirty little problem
Yeah.
that we have, right?
Well, it's also kind of cool or kind of interesting how like this is not the first time where it's like Boba goes to someone and like the buck is constantly being passed, right? We've seen that with the mayor. We've seen that with Garza, right? It's there's always a bigger fish.
We saw that with Din Djarin too, right? In The Mandalorian.
So it seems like Boba, as opposed to Din Djarin, is the one who's like, I'm really tired of the buck always getting passed. It's gonna stop here.
Yeah. Well, of course, this flashback is rudely awakened by the Wookiee attack from Black Chrysanthemum. So Jason, do you remember the movie Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen?
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
I could not help flashing. It's just like, right. It's like
I vaguely remember. Yeah, I do. Yes.
So this is another crime film, where Viggo Mortensen is like a mob enforcer,
Russian,
Russian mob, and they've got this like amazing iconic scene where he's just sitting there nude in a bathhouse, and assassins come for him, and basically, I mean, he's naked, and he fights off these guys, but completely.
I mean, I'm not complaining about either of these fight scenes.
What'd you think of the scene, Jason?
The fights, I thought it was great. I mean, you got to see pull out his electric knuckles, which comes straight from the comic, which I thought was really cool. And Bobo got wailed on. He got out of his Matrix pod and he just got pummeled. But I mean, like, it was great, that the American Graffiti kids came in and saved them, and got to do that.
The whole time I was like, how come no one noticed him coming in? What the hell?
Yeah.
Bad
He came in the secret
Gamorreans.
way. Can we address one of the biggest questions that got answered this episode, though, is that this guy actually can now pay for his stapler. He got 500 credits, people, so he's going to get that stapler back. So leave Milton alone. So I've been saving that background just for a moment. So there, I'm good. I'm done.
What did he say? Like, I'm offended on your behalf. Like, he just kept saying that I'm offended.
It's like,
on your behalf.
There, Milton. Yeah, he's full on goating him. So, but I love Stephen Root. He's a great character actor. It was nice to see him have a little moment there too.
Yeah,
it took me a hot second, but yeah.
So the funny thing was, I knew I recognized him. I couldn't remember where I recognized him from, but I latched onto his voice, and I remembered him first, actually, ironically, as a Klingon.
Oh,
do you remember that, Tracy? So he was the Klingon captain in the what was it? Was it the insurrection arc when they brought Spock? When they brought Spock to the Next Generation, and he makes fun of Picard in his Romulan costume.
He was much more handsome in this role than most of his other roles, though. Like, he cleans up nice.
I mean, he's just an amazing character actor. He's like one of those people who can like just transform.
He says a lot with just a facial expression too, and he switches facial expressions very quickly. Yeah, I a man after my own heart.
I need to. I haven't like done enough actor research, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's got some kind of clown or comedian in his background, with the
I'm
precision
sure
of his like
some kind of
expression.
Second City type of deal or something.
and he's probably classically trained and knows Shakespeare up the wazoo. So I mean, he covers every level of everything. So
Yeah, like Alan Tudyk getting paid big bucks to be a chicken.
right.
Respect.
Well, and the Pike leader was played by Phil Lamar.
Yes,
Ooh,
that's right.
that's
Good call.
great.
Yeah.
Was
Thank
was was
you. I
Pop,
didn't
was
know that.
Pop Organa. I like to call him Pop Organa in the animated series, and he was on Futurama too, right? And as well as a bunch of other things.
Oh yeah, he's Hermes.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. I didn't know that.
He's
Yeah.
Hermes on Futurama. He's also one of his earliest. No, actually, no. I'm thinking of a different actor. Sorry, but he was also Samurai Jack. For those fans.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Andy Tartovsky, who did the original Clone Wars animated series, did a samurai cartoon show, and he was the main character of that.
I did not even know that he was Samurai Jack.
But focusing specifically on Stephen Root's character. Sure. So Lortha Peel, who is this watermonger who complains about that he's got that a street gang have stolen his water, right? And of course this introduces us to the mods. We started to talk a little bit about this during the crosstalk, but your thoughts on these guys?
Well, I'll recap what I said, since I think I was the first person in the crosstalk to kind of talk about that. And I do believe that it is now probably the most hated scene in all of Star Wars. It's been very divisive. I think that there was definitely like the one guy definitely reminds me of the Sixth Doctor with his suit. Like you got like the legs boinging out like Go-Go Gadget. You've got or Inspector Gadget. You've got. There were times, my first thought when they were going through this scene, it was how slow that they were moving. But what I didn't mention before was that the slowness of that scene gave us a lot of Easter eggs, which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
The big one for me was the astromech with the busted converter. Or the busted generator or whatever. You see the red astromech.
Oh, R4D4, right?
R4D4, R4D5?
D5, yes.
R4D4. No, you're right, R4D4. And he's kind of rolling across the road, with his busted motivator. So
I like when they crashed through the Jabba painting by McQuarrie. They just took they just took out Skywalker from the original concept art and just right through. That was like the first thing I went, okay, that's pretty cool. And like you said, I had more than enough time to watch that. I'm like, wow, there's that painting. It's really in focus. So, but
I had to pause it when they all pulled up. I was like, those are Skittles and Power Rangers colors. But
it stands out on a dirt planet, right?
It really does. I have mixed feelings, and that's not even like a shy way of saying it's bad. It really is mixed, because as a concept, I loved it. As a plot point, I loved it. Okay, you come in and you find these people who are, someone says is a threat, and you realize that, like, all right, I could, keep my enemies close and see if they might not be enemies at all. Creative problem solving, really had, really good leadership development for Boba Fett to be like, okay, how can I solve this problem creatively? And like I said, I bought the fact that in this day and age that there are gutter punk cyborgs. That did not seem far-fetched to me. Totally bought the gutter punk cyborg construct. I hope they do some more show don't tell to justify why they looked like they sort of belonged on Coruscant and how they got all the way out there.
They do. They look exactly like they belong on Coruscant. I had the same thought.
See, I'm still of the mind that you don't need to justify it at all. I think the fact that they're there does justify it. It's a bit of world building that kind of shows.
I mean, but to do the world building, you have to provide that for the people who may not be interested in looking up the history. Like,
fair enough.
You know what I mean? Like, not everybody's gonna understand the counterculture of like the London youth, and not everybody's gonna want to go look it up. And so, unless you provide some sort of anchor point as to why these kids chose flashy colors, like if they show in another episode that these kids are like like looking at like hollows of Coruscant fashion and style in the background.
Right.
Boom, that's it. That sets
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah, no,
That's it. That sets
okay.
it for me.
Yeah.
That's complete world building for my money. And so I would love to, like, I think that would be a missed opportunity if they don't do that, because so much of the, and especially reading a completely different part of the timeline, High Republic arc, and a constant theme in Star Wars is how the center of the galaxy doesn't always understand. The people in power don't understand what the little guys are going through.
Right.
Did you feel like it may have been a little bit of like the is it Kenton?
The Kenton Striders.
The Kenton Striders, like they're supposed to almost like mirror each other, and when they kind of go into battle, like they're gonna have like these two opposites.
I understood. That's why, like, I went, okay, I get why you're making it flashy, so that it's not one grubby, dirty biker gang visually against another. Like, so aesthetically, you're never gonna have a hard time telling who's who. I understood it on that level.
So this is the other reason why I started the show off with Quadro-Fett-nia running under me, because this is also potentially, if they do have a face off with the Swoop gang and the Mos Vespas.
That gang is so fucked. I was watching it by myself, and like Boba comes up on the campus.
So one of the kind of core thematic arcs of Quadro-Fett-nia was that you meet these mod kids in 1964 who make their ride up to Brighton and get into this all-out brawl because there's this huge kind of gang war rivalry between the mods and the rockers, right? And the rockers are basically that American greaser look. They ride motorcycles, they wear leather jackets and blue jeans, right? And they listen to rock and roll. So
it's the Jets versus the Sharks.
So here we have basically a recreation of the mod riots in Brighton 1964, between these literal modified mods with their Vespa inspired Mos Vespas, with their zillions of mirrors and everything in that full Brit styling.
I really hope those things have some like chitty chitty bang bang style like additions to them, because otherwise those speeders are really fast and they're gonna wipe them the fuck out.
They weren't that fast in that chase scene though. They were pretty
No, I'm talking about the Nikto speeders, because he stole speeders from the Niktos and they could keep up with the electric train from the Pikes. I'm like, okay, how's this Vespa face off gonna work off with the speeders?
Maybe he learned and he'll like outfit their Vespa bikes.
Can we please have a Grease Lightning non-musical montage?
Yes. Like they suddenly like push like the NOS button and
yeah.
My boyfriend in high school was a street racer, you guys. I know how this works.
I know. I want him to turn street racer. They better with all that, like,
because it's all about family.
Man.
It's all about family.
It's all about family.
And we also find out in episode 4 that they all hate Dalmatians and they want to make pelts out of them. No.
That movie, it created more questions than it answered for me.
I haven't seen Cruella yet, so don't tell me.
Yeah, you know what? If you don't get to, that's all right.
I liked it more than I thought I would. I'll say that much. Not to go off on a tangent, but it was far more surprising to me what it was than
fair.
I really was just expecting to turn it off 20 minutes in. But.
Fair, granted.
Okay, so before we leave a discussion about the mods, Kevin, he's like okay with the flashy colors for wanting to stand out and push back, but how did they keep the bike so clean?
They're just wiping it down.
Wiping it down with those little mice things.
Wait, if you don't have a job, or your only job is to be a bodyguard, you're going to spend the whole day like servicing your bike, and I buy that.
What I responded to him was that they're friends with Pelimoto, who we saw in the background of this episode.
I like that.
Walking past the stormtrooper helmets that we saw in Mandalorian.
Yes.
The other thing too, right? I mean, if you go back, just go back and watch Quadro-Fett-nia, right? And you'll see this. Like, this was part of that culture where they are in industrial towns, shipbuilding towns, factory towns. Everyone is dirty, grimy, and greasy, except for these kids and their Vespas, right, that are polished and chromed and maintained because that was their way to kind of make themselves stand out or get away from kind of the austerity culture of the generation before them. So it
Well,
is
it's like people who, they have like their low riders, or they have, they belong to like a classic car club. Like they don't necessarily they aren't necessarily rich people, but that's
So
like where they pour their money into, right?
You just
and when
tapped
you
into
live in
Latino
sand because
culture.
it gets everywhere and you hate it, then you're gonna spend every 15 minute. Honestly, Anakin would have been a mod if he
It's so rough and sandy. It gets in things.
Tracy tapped into like the Latino culture side of it, which it really just kind of coincided with me remembering a little part of In the Heights, where Abuela is talking about how her mother's hands were always chapped from all of the cleaning chemicals. So on her days off, she had a nice pair of gloves. And that was one of her ways of keeping dignity, was to take care with her appearance.
I mean, when you think
that's
about
just just the little things. What matters to you, what you prioritize based on your lifestyle.
when you think a lot of kind of like these counterculture movements, they have a lot to do with this very much idea, right? Where like the reason why we have, I call you like, hey man, what's up, man? Like man is in the vernacular came from African-American jazz musicians who were called boy throughout all of their lives. So like, in the club here, you're a man. I'm calling you man, right? Same thing that, to talk about in the Chicano community, right? The lowriders, the zoot suits, all of that had to do with like, I'm going to take pride in this old car and I'm going to suit this up because it's going to be slick because I am slick and, whatever my working class life
I can do this work on my car.
On my weekends, I'm going to cruise, I'm going to cruise.
And I'm going to look good. I'm going to feel good. Yep.
Right.
This makes me want to see more of the Star Wars equivalent of Latino lowrider culture. Like I really want to see like the Cholo, like the intergalactic Cholos, please. Hear that, Dave Filoni?
And maybe Danny Trejo will deliver.
Give me intergalactic Cholillos. Okay, I'm done.
Let's see here. What other things? Okay, do we want to talk a little bit more about get a little deeper into Black Chrysanthemum?
Yeah, wait. Kevin just said that Anakin became a mod.
Nah, he was an emo, man. He should have been a mod. He was totally emo.
Oh wow.
Okay, so that was okay, but we're sorry. I know that we were kind of still on this topic, but what's the guy Stephen Root? What's his character's name?
Something Peel.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he's like talking about these kids with such a sneer, right? Like they're part machine. They've got these mechanical parts, and I'm thinking, how many? Did you notice that Fennec Shand was like straight up mad dogging him during that part because she's got like her whole like midsection is like robot stuff, and you got like Anakin who's like missing. I mean, so many people have modifications to their bodies that for him to be so sneery about it, I was like, ooh, what other biases does he have? Like, what's his deal?
I mean, you could probably even link it to, how they don't serve droids in certain cantinas and.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Anyway, we can move on now. Lord Appeal. Thank you, Kevin.
Lord Appeal. Let's see here. Okay. So let's talk about the Black Chrysanthemum. So Black Chrysanthemum is defeated by way of trapdoor, and the Hutts arrive. And we talked a little bit about the Rancor, right? He offers to give them Black Chrysanthemum back, and they're just like, you can sell him to the what was
the gladiators.
Back to
the gladiators.
Yeah.
That's where they got him from.
Yeah, that's from the comics straight up. Yeah.
Yes.
Which he wants to find them anyway so that he can kill them, even though he volunteered.
He got taken down by Finn's little secret knife that she pulls out from the Mandalorian. So it was nice that she pulled that out of the butt of her gun again. So that was a nice little. And he just leaves it in there the whole time he's in the pit. He's just screaming and it's still sticking out of his hand. He's like, "Fuck you!" It's like-
Well, so here's another thing that I thought was interesting, right? So the first thing he does, he goes for his armor. He tries to get the little whistling birds thing to work.
Yeah.
They don't work, and the first thing he can grab is his gaffy stick, which he actually managed to like slam into Chrysanthemum's shoulder. And
Yeah, he got a
And
pretty
Stick
good
it there.
3 in. Well, yeah, like that.
way more damage than the tech would. I mean, like as you saw him, he was like that was hurting. So it was, yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I'm just thinking of where that went, and that was like right behind the scapula, like
Yeah, yeah,
mother.
yeah. Right in the tender
Hit him with the pointy end.
Hit him with the pointy end. You see, you got to go back to the Buffy basics.
But we are going to probably need to wrap this up pretty soon. But I just want to kind of get into, like some of these things that I thought were kind of significant points, right? Is that we hear that the Hutts are backing off from Tatooine. They're like, you know what? Have a Rancor. You can have Tatooine. This place is
Are they
worthless."
really though? They're just letting everybody else get to kill themselves so that they can come back in.
Well,
Because
Certainly.
it's not
I
a
don't-
worthless rock.
There's a chance that it might not be that, because at least in the comics, Black Chrysanthemum is tied to Dr. Aphra.
I think Black Chrysanthemum's gonna come back and fight on Boba's side, by the way, since Boba let him go.
But his appearance, I mean, I would love that. That would be really fun. I know that his in the comics his appearance is also kind of tied to plot lines that involve Dr. Aphra.
Right.
And Dr. Aphra would mean big trouble. And so I don't think the Hutts are entirely on the level. I think they're like twisting things so that they can stir the pot and muddy the waters and create something to their moneyed advantage. But I do think that they are being honest, at least, that there is big trouble on the way.
Well, here's the thing,
would
right?
fit with-
Because we get the number of name checks. We get a name check about how the city of Mos Espa is divided between the Aqualish, who are running the workers' district, the Trandoshans, who run the city center, and we've seen a number of those lizard people kind of mad dogging Boba Fett every time he walks into town, and the Klatooinians that run the starport in the Upper Sprawl, right? So
Who did not make a tribute.
who did not make tribute.
Rude.
So, but now we have the Pikes rolling in en masse, right? We've got a whole Star Cruiser of Pikes that kind of roll in mass numbers, and they're prepping for war. And of course,
Like
the Hutts
Russia on
claim-
the border of Ukraine.
and of course the Hutts claim war is bad for business, so we don't want a piece of this, right? So, I mean,
I
that's
hate when
kind of
I
the
identify
interesting-
with the Hutts.
So that's the interesting thing here, right? Is what is at stake here? Like, why is Tatooine actually valuable?
True.
Any thoughts?
It's because it's on it's like a major trade route, right?
Mhm.
Major spaceport. Wait, and there's the mines where the spice is.
Well, that's in Kessel, right? The spice mines of Kessel.
Somebody with better
Oh.
Star
We
Wars
haven't
geography
actually-
I
knowledge.
think the
is
whole
usually
water
going to have to
thing is going to come back
figure that
to
out.
play because they keep bringing that up over and over, and like just when you think they're going to talk about Tatooine's past and when it was covered in oceans, they keep getting cut off, and I'm like, I don't know, I think that's going to be the key thing.
Somebody's
down the
gonna bomb the planet. All those little melons are gonna explode.
Yeah.
And the oceans are gonna return to
Yeah.
Tatooine.
It's going to be like the end of Total Recall, and it's just like, go, yep, there it is, and get your ass to Tatooine. So yeah, and then there's water there now. Let's go to the beaches of Tatooine. So
I mean, there's also like shades of Dune and all of this, right? And
very much Shades of
or
Dune.
Lawrence of Arabia, even, right?
yeah.
Well, it's like what we said, right? George Lucas has a lot of inspirations, and he's not afraid to put them into Star Wars. And I think the same is
Yeah.
true for Dave Filoni and John Favreau.
I mean, they all pull from, if it's an archetype, they pull from it. And that's the model. That's why it works. No shade. They're not lying about it, they're not shy. And that's why it works.
Well, so any predictions for next week? Now that we've basically, I think we've finally kind of established all the main parties, right? So I mean, I think the main missing piece here is what is at stake, right? Beyond just his ego and his position as daimyo. What is it that's valuable on the planet? Hopefully, we'll get a reveal or something next week.
Yeah, that'd be really that would be fun because it would tie things together. It would tie together why, besides this concept of his lost Tuscan family, he's trying to establish himself as the head of like the family as a daimyo, because that seems a little tenuous. So hopefully we get some kind of big intrigue or big strategic reason as to why Tatooine.
I still
is
think
so
it's going to be the
important.
boss of the boss of the boss, and it's going to end up being something like Crimson Dawn.
Well, okay, so do you have any Easter eggs for us, Tracy, that we haven't actually already? Because I caught a big one, that was very subtly in there, specifically on the costume of the lead Pike when he goes to negotiate. Did any of you guys?
Oh, are you talking about that? How it looks kind of like the Death Star but broken in half?
Well, it doesn't look like the Death Star. It's kind of a circle pattern that has kind of a negative and positive space to it, and it we've seen emblems of the Pikes before, so there's elements of that, but that half circle thing looks a lot like parts of the Emerald Dawn logo.
Oh, interesting.
Go back if you go back and rewatch. Go check out the costume of the leader of the Pikes, and you'll look at and compare the logo on his chest, on his costume, to the old Emerald Dawn.
I think we talked about most of the Easter eggs, but I do have some fun facts. Real quick.
Well, I mean, just very like to put the point on this, right? Is that we've been talking about the potentially revealing Kira, right? I mean, that would be kind of our lead into what if the person running the Pikes.
What if she's the big bad?
Is Kira?
Well, that would be Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, or Crimson Dawn. I would say the Emerald Dawn, whatever.
I understood what you meant.
Yeah.
I heard
colors
Dawn, and I thought Green Lantern and Crimson Dawn mixed together, and I was just real confused.
And then you get into the Harrison Ford rumors, because then if Kira shows up and then Ford films something, it's like, oh man, it's a whole.
I still don't think Harrison Ford's. I don't think Harrison Ford's gonna. I will eat something of your choice that is non-meat related if I am wrong, but I don't think that Harrison Ford's gonna show up unless it's a completely computer generated something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, we know a model exists for young indies, so
yeah,
just put that face somewhere else.
Would you like to know a couple of fun facts real quick?
Do it.
Or do you have another thought to finish?
No, do it.
Okay.
Honestly, my first thought about that logo was that it looked like a Pokeball. Anyway, keep going.
It does.
That too.
It totally looked like a Pokeball. Okay, so at the very beginning, we saw the BT-16 spider droids, right? We also saw one crawling around in the beginning of Jabba's palace and Return of the Jedi. C-3PO walks right past it. And they have this sort of fishbowl that contains a brain, right? And that's used by the Bomar monks of Tatooine, who transfer their brains into the droids as a higher state of enlightenment, to detached from all earthly senses. And in the expanded universe, which is no longer canon, they show that that's actually the death of Bib Fortuna, as opposed to Boba Fett killing him in Jabba's palace. And those monks sort of sucked his brain into one of those spider.
So this is the Doctor Who Cyberman crossover?
Yeah.
Slash Futurama brain in a president head in a jar. Like what?
Okay. Let's do it. Let's see. Most of these other ones that we have already talked about. The sound of the Major Domo trying to restart his speeder, that was the same biplane sound that they used for the Millennium Falcon starting up and then crashing. And it was also when Anakin's pod racer stalled in Phantom Menace. So that's kind of cool. And that's it. That's the only like Easter egg behind the scenes thing that we.
Oh, I have a fun fact. I have a fun fact. You said your sound effect thing reminded me of it. which is that before I think we were talking about favorite Star Wars sound effects like a very long time ago when I think it was maybe like Howard Ho was here or something. So I said something about the sound effect that had been modified from like an elephant was my favorite, and the Tusken Raiders has since replaced it as my favorite. now that it's, and not that I like enjoy it so much as it's just really amusing to me as somebody who's been around like horses and donkeys growing up to listen to it for a minute and be like, hold on, Google. Yeah, they just modified a donkey noise for the Tusken Raider. Yup, they totally did that.
It's like run backwards or something like that, right?
But the actual like call is pretty much it's just a modify.
So it's like yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my boyfriend and I started doing that to call each other around the house, and I don't know how I feel about that.
That's fun.
Oh my gosh.
The only other thing that I had just kind of point of interest more than Easter egg was and we did do a couple of posts about these, is of course this is the first time that Tamora Morrison and Danny Trejo have been on screen together since 6 Days and 7 Nights back in 1989, where they were the villains against Harrison Ford.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so goes back to Harrison Ford.
Right?
6 degrees of
Inspiration. There she goes.
So, I am not somebody that has a thing for feet whatsoever, but Tamora Morrison's big toe, I want to know what's up with his big toe.
Oh, when it was all like crooked, when he was
it was all like it was like here's his foot and here's his toe. Like it was like all curled up and huge. And I was like, I just wanted to know if he was just like double jointed in his toe or if he's got like a wonky toe.
Too much time in high heels.
I think it just got broken from getting wailed on. So I was just like, oh, I'll snap it back later.
It's a very interesting toe.
Yeah.
The other kind of a fun little catch was a lot of people had pointed out that at the 33-minute mark, you can kind of see the backstage construction of one of the buildings.
I need to go look at that.
In Mos Espa. Yeah,
I guess. I mean, that could easily just be like the inside of like the top of a building that has like a little rooftop area or something. But
I mean, yeah, but when you look, you can clearly see the one by the one by frame.
What were you guys saying, that it was like the domain of Jeans Guy?
Jeans Guy. Yes.
It was the inside of his pants. Yeah, it's where he bought them.
Cool. Anything else that we wanna cover on this before we move on to the next?
I think we should let Lexi talk about this graphic novel.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. I just want to do a little thing on it. It's because it's a short 4-parter, and it's really fun for anybody who's been keeping up with or interested in getting into the High Republic arc. For anybody who, like myself, is a big Ahsoka Tano fan or an Asajj Ventress fan, basically somebody who is a Force user who defected from the Jedi Order, and is very firmly on the I am no Jedi side. We've got a new character for you all to love. We've got Ty Yorick, whose Padawan was known as Padawan Tylera, and she's a Tholothian, which is a species that I'm only just becoming kind of familiar with. I've spent a lot of my Star Wars book and comic reading looking up new species.
Okay, so just to catch people up, so we have switched gears. So we're now getting into book review of Monster of Temple Peak. Monster of Temple Peak. This is a new High Republic limited series in the comics, written by Kevin Scott with art by Rachel Stott.
Yes, the cover artist does not get enough credit.
Scott and Stott.
It was too good for me not to. I was like, the cover and line artist doesn't get enough credit, and her name rhymes so beautifully. So, like, shout out to. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So Lexi, so give us like, what is like the quick elevator pitch, like synopsis, like what is the kind of lead in of the story of this arc?
So, Monster of Temple Peak is basically a rogue Force user, former Jedi, similar to Ahsoka Tano, who's got her own dark past, forging her way through the Force. She's turned to monster hunting instead of bounty hunting, which is kind of fun for everybody who loves the creature aspect of Star Wars, which I definitely do. And she's called on to an unusual job on a planet in the Outer Rim, and finds out that the monster she's supposed to be hunting down is not what she expects it to be.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you were talking about this this kind of central character. What is this character's name, and what's their their quick backstory without giving up too much away?
All right. So her name is Ty York. She is confirmed queer. Yay! Another fun little addition to the Star Queers lineup. She is trained as a Padawan, has somewhere in between Ahsoka and Asajj vibes, not nearly as dark as Asajj Ventress, but no, actually, I would say if you blended Han Solo with Ahsoka.
And so wait, did she fall away from the Jedi Order, or is she?
She fell away from the Jedi Order. There is yet to be I've been reading some more of the novels as well, and she's a character that plays prominently in the novels.
Do you know which ones are
forthcoming? Into the Dark.
Oh, okay.
Very prominent in Into the Dark, and several other pieces. So it's really interesting to get this. Having read Into the Dark back to back with this little comic, she makes a decision to stop using these. She basically uses like dice or stones called Verazine stones to decide whether or not she takes a job. And I kind of see it as a personal, it's a crutch because of the incident that made her leave the Jedi Order. I'm not even sure she was kicked out. They have not clearly elucidated on that yet. The only thing you have are flashbacks of the really traumatic incident with a fellow Padawan that led to her leaving.
So she's on her own, but like the Jedi Order hasn't necessarily like acknowledged or made a thing of her leaving, or
yeah, they haven't really, which is strange, and I'm still trying to figure it out whether it's a plot hole or just something to be revealed, because in Into the Dark, one of the Jedi Council members can't figure out who she is. But in researching her character, I realized that's because she's using an alias. So I think once they find out who her master is, they'll probably figure out what's going on with her. Back in our High Republic discussion, we briefly touched on one of the characters, Elzar Mann, and she ends up developing a connection with him, not in Monster of Temple Peak, but in Into the Dark, also by Kevin Scott.
Well, I remember in one of the books too, they talked about like, was it Jedi Wayfinders, or was that, what was the term they used for people who did not?
She's definitely not a Wayfinder.
What was
the Wayfinders are? I do remember that, and I loved that concept because, I was like, well, I don't think I'd be part of the Jedi Order, but if I ever were, it'd be one of the, it's like the people who, with the blessing of the Order, go off and do like a special study that is unique to them, that doesn't necessarily directly serve the Jedi Order. They aren't on call. They can't be recalled for missions. And so it seems to me that that's the difference. But for her, I feel like you have to be at least a Jedi Knight to be a Wayfinder. You can't just be a Padawan. And so from every indication, she never made it past Padawan, but was very talented.
So, okay. So this centers around her. And her journey as she encounters some monster. What do we have in the way of sidekicks? Any kind of interesting other characters that you want to call out?
Yeah, there's a new species that I'm trying to remember the name of, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, man, I should have written this down. So she has a sidekick she doesn't keep, and that's kind of why I forgot to write down his race. But there's a kid who follows her around, and he does affect her. I mentioned the Verazine stones, where she's kind of superstitious. Her her falling out with the Jedi Order has led her to have not very much faith in her own decisions. And so she uses these kind of oracle stones to make her decisions for her. Someone offers her a job. She's like, I'll consult my stones. Let me get back to you. Right?
She's an astrology nut.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know, Mercury's in retrograde. I can't take that job. And literally, Tracy nailed it. She's like, Mercury's in retrograde. I can't take that job. My bad. And
Kingdoms have gone to war for such things, right?
yeah. And so she leaves her decision making to outside forces. And this character, which the fact that I'm not able to remember a lot of details about the specific character is great for anybody who hates spoilers. But in terms of plot and character development importance, I can definitely say that her run-in with this character several times ends up inspiring her to make decisions for herself. And to inspire this character, she leaves her oracle stones to them.
So we've talked about like other sidekick heroes and other characters. How about is there any villain that you want to kind of call out, or antagonist, or do you want to kind of leave it vague?
So this one in particular, I'm going to sort of leave it a little vague because I liked it. I liked the villain baddie aspect in this because it was very archetypal in a sense where they had a good bait and switch, and it asks you to revise your concept of what a monster is.
Okay, cool. So this is a four issue series, correct? Or
4-issue series, and again, if you're somebody who's into Star Wars creatures, one of the creature features is a symbiote.
A symbiote.
A really cool, really fucking cool symbiote, you guys. They get a really bad rap.
Was there anything that was missing, or things that you felt where like you kind of wished it had gone a little deeper into, or
the part of the reason that I didn't remember the name or the character of her sidekick was because he was so abruptly introduced.
Right on.
And it kind of felt like sidekick because the Jedi Force user needs a sidekick.
Fair enough.
So I hope that in future comics they bring him back in and make something of him.
Is this the extent of her storyline, or are there already
Absolutely
other stories?
not. Oh no,
exist?
she features
Okay.
she features so much in the High Republic thing, and then the High Republic thing. Boo! High Republic arc. And I like her a lot because it reads very much that Clone War period of Ahsoka where she's like, I can't not help, but I really don't want to deal with you damn Jedi and your bureaucratic, you know? And so I get that read off of her, and I like her very much for that.
So overall, you recommend?
I do. I really do. And like I said, Rachel Stott's line work and cover art is phenomenal. The cover art is in our graphics, even though it's kind of small. You guys can check it out. And yeah, overall, just really, really beautiful character art in the sense that a lot of the species and characters that I have been reading about in the High Republic arc, I would get to see.
Yeah, I still have to catch up on Into the Dark. That's sitting on my queue, and I just got so busy.
You know, if you're tired and busy, wait. It's Into the Dark. It gets dark.
Yeah. But I am excited because I do want to catch up because I think we're expecting a big drop of the next phase of the High Republic to come in July or come in June. So so I've got the next the next 5 months to catch up and pick up on some of these stories. Once again, this is the Monster of Temple Peak by Kevin Scott with art by Rachel Stott, and that is a recommend from Lexi. Thanks so much for kind of digging into that for us.
Absolutely, real fun.
All right, well that
5 out of 5 Kyber crystals.
So I believe that is our show for the day, for the week, actually. Next week, we'll be back talking about the Book of Boba Fett episode 4, which is going to air in a couple of days. We'll also, I don't know what our second topic is. We'll announce that later on. But we want to see all more Star Wars creations. Do you cosplay, make fan films, build droids, build models, sell stuff on Etsy? Show us how Star Wars has inspired you, and we just might feature you on the show. And thank you for joining us here tonight. We're here on the Geekish Network. Starting next week, we'll be on every Monday at 6:30 p.m., a little bit earlier. That dinner
Pacific.
hour. Pacific time. And what time is in 9:30 Eastern?
6:30 Pacific, 7:30 Mountain, 9:30 Eastern.
We'll have to add island time too, right? Island time.
Island time, yeah, we gotta have island time.
So please follow Geekish Network on YouTube and Facebook.
3:30.
Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining us here on Mondays. Check the schedules for all the other great shows here on the Geekish Network throughout the week. Of course, we did the crosstalk earlier with our friends at Geek Beast. Thanks on the flight deck to Rodney, and we are the Pod Squadron. Please check out our content on podsquadron.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app. I am Chinese Pirate. That is at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms.
I am Tracy, Hot Nerd Girl. If you go to Hot Nerd Girl anything, it'll probably pop up.
All right, Feral Geek Aesthetic. I do nerd and geek adjacent. And yes, have fun.
BeyondForever.net and Beyond Forever Studios everywhere else.
And all wings return to base. Course laid in and prepared to make the jump of the light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night, everybody. You know, the other thing about the whole modern rocker thing is I really want Sting to show up. Because Sting shows up in this sick
Wait, can he be shirtless and sweaty and coming out of a pod?
He's shirtless and with a leather duster on and the sick Vespa that is all tricked out.